PJNet.TV. It is part 2, and it is JD Wininger, as it is every Thursday night at about this time. It's time to get rolling. We have a bumper running, we are recording, we are streaming live, and the chat room is tired of hearing me. So let's switch to Studio 6 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, welcome back to PJNet.TV, where it's time for a little trip around the Cross W. I want to say a special hello to all you folks in the chat room. You're making my day. You just charging my batteries. I appreciate all of you. We may have time to run down the roster a little bit later. I'm kind of coughing and wheezing here. What you see behind me is the going around the Cross W. That is the brand of the Cross W Ranch. And JD's brand, well, is his brand. And he is on the road, but he has made arrangements with the place he's staying to use their Wi-Fi. and folks, he you know, you just have a thing for going to Burlington. You're in Burlington all the time, just different states, right?
Yes, sir. This week I'm in Burlington, Iowa, of all places.
I don't know what's there. I never can't say I've ever been there.
Well, sir, there's a restaurant called Gators, but other than that, they're just up the road a piece is the Iowa Army Ammunition Plant, and that's really excited to be working with them again. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, don't blow yourself up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, just playing with Composition C4 this week.
Okay. Yeah, we talked about that last week. What you drinking there? A little orange juice? A little OJ?
Oh, no, sir. Lifer's juice. Got to have the coffee, Coach.
Oh, that's right. The nectar of the gods. I have some myself, always do. JD, I was very moved. We got so many lessons. And it's not unusual in the kind of blog that you do, and you do it so well. So many lessons. So let's go explore some lessons about this calf. And I don't tell your story, and I'll sit here and just interrupt as much as I possibly can.
All right, sir. Well, while I was in North Carolina, I had a dear brother from a church. His name is Mr. Donnie Bookout. And Donnie come over and he took care of my calves. Now, Donnie's in his early 70s, and he's about the most bow-legged man you ever meet in your life. He reminds you of Chester from the old Gunsmoke episodes, you remember. Mm-hmm. And he just kind of gets around as best he can, but bless his heart, got the heart the size of Texas. And old Mr. Donnie would feed my calves and check on the animals and all the livestock and everything, take care of Miss Diane and everything while I'm gone. He's just a wonderful friend. And when I got back, he said, Mr. Jim, I borrowed a small bale of your Bermuda grass hay. And I said, okay, no worry about it. Just, don't think nothing about it. And he said, when you go to get some more, he said, I need some. I said, okay. So I picked him up, a half dozen bales or something, and took it over to his house to drop it off for him. And he said, it's been busy. I've had 7 calves in the last 5 days here at the ranch. My goodness, Mr. Donnie, I had to keep you going, And he said, let me introduce you to my buddy. He said, this is Rowdy. And he explained to me the story that Rowdy was born with a cleft lip. So basically, if you look at Rowdy, Coach, this beautiful little buckskin calf, his tongue hangs out the right side of his face. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he's like that all the time, Coach. Yeah. And just so ugly, he's cute. I mean, I just don't know how else to say it, Coach. But he's got this birth defect, and I said, well, what do you got him pinned up for, Donnie? And he said, Mama rejected him. She wouldn't let him nurse. She kicks him away and things. So I went, oh, geez, so you got to bottle feed him? He said, yes, sir. He said, that ain't as easy as it sounds because he can only eat on one side of his mouth and things. But it's cold and wet and damp there in North Texas right now. And here's my friend Donnie sitting down with this little calf 4 times a day, giving it about a quart and a half of milk at a time. And he's bottle feeding this little calf. And it's just such a blessing to see. But I started thinking about that little calf, Coach, and thinking about the selflessness that, Mr. Donnie puts forth. Here he is, he's got 7 calves to worry about, and he's spending his time with this one, and kind of made me think about the 99 and the one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got thinking about that, and I said, okay, Lord, I know I'm supposed to learn something from this, so what all am I supposed to learn, Father? And the lessons just started coming,
Oh,
And
yeah.
of course, the first thing that hit me was that all of God's creations have value, Coach. And in God's kingdom, there's no discards. So as ugly and as broken and as damaged as we might be, God still loves us, buddy. And he doesn't cast us away. He doesn't give up on us, Coach. And that's the same thing my friend Donnie was doing. That was a blessing to my heart. That really stuck with me. Another thing that just kind of stuck with me is, I started thinking about all the names that I've called calves in the past. A lunger, which means they're born and their lungs aren't formed and they can't breathe, and we know they're not going to make it. But runt or call and so many other names. And most ranchers you meet, Coach, when they have a calf that requires special attention, they just end the calf's suffering then, because it's an inconvenience for them. It's going to take more work. It's going to take more effort. God doesn't think like that, though, Coach. He doesn't want us to think that way. And
Well, some humans, a lot of humans do think that way when they become pregnant. That's an inconvenience, isn't it, JD?
yeah, absolutely, buddy. Or they learn that their child will be born with Down's syndrome, or something like that. Coach, I got to tell you, some of the greatest blessings in my heart has been from the kids in Special Olympics that I coached and worked with, and sometimes just stood at the finish line and hugged, when they finished. There's no such thing as throwaway kids, Coach. Just doesn't happen. There's no throwaway people in this world. There's people we'd sure rather not be around because they're just mean and ugly and hurtful. But we don't know what they're hurting, inside. We don't know what's going on with them, Coach. It's not my place to judge a man and determine what's going on inside of him. That's God's job, not mine, right?
It's hard for me to know what's going on in my head sometimes.
You and me both. Yes, sir. But working through that, and I thought about that, and I thought about how words impact us. When I talk about discard or runt or call or throwaway, those words have little value. They equate to, they don't matter much. They're not important, right? And Coach, God doesn't have words like that. He talks of mercy and grace and love and peace and kindness and goodness and patience or long suffering, Coach. Those are the kind of words that we need to be speaking into other people's lives. There's so much ugly in this world, Coach, we don't need to add to it. And if we're King's kids, if we're Christians, and I don't mean CNOs or Christians in name only, I mean Christians, children of God, Coach, then we should be speaking life into others. Should we not, sir? And I felt like Donnie was speaking life into this little calf. Jim, he's going to make it. He's going to be all right, Mr. Jim. We're going to get him through here. And in fact, I talked with Donnie this afternoon, and he says tomorrow I'm going to start hand feeding him some crunch, which is just little pelletized food, with corn and stuff.
Grind it up, Mix it up with a little milk, Come on.
Well, powdered milk, he'll put on it, because the little calf likes to taste the milk 4 times a day. So that ought to get him going. But he said, I got my hand in there in his mouth, and he's got teeth, and he's got enough of a palate. He should be able to eat,
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, what Donnie is doing is he's giving this little calf a chance at life, Coach, and a chance to fulfill his destiny. Now, this may sound gross or mean or cruel, but a cow's purpose is to feed humans.
Be
I
steak.
mean, they really serve no other great purpose on this life. They either make milk or they make meat, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
It comes
Mm-hmm.
down to that.
Yes, sir.
In fact, the first steer I had on the Cross W, I named Phil, Phil, and I named him that because that was his purpose. He was going
Mm-hmm.
to fill my freezer,
Phil, there you go.
and and he did, but he fulfilled his destiny, and he's given this animal. It will have a compassionate, caring caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
It'll have a good life, folks. I believe in Donnie, and I see Donnie with his animals. There's not many of us, but there's a few of us that'll go out there and we'll stand on the fence line and we'll just watch him, or we'll talk to him and we'll pray over him, Coach, when something's going wrong. And that's what we're supposed to do, right? God gives these animals to our charge, and we're supposed to be caretakers. We're supposed to take care of them, Coach. And when I see men like Donnie Book out stepping up and doing the right thing, it just emboldens me. It encourages me to know that I'm following the right path. And I learned some wonderful lessons from him. A couple of other thoughts that I've had is, and we talk about this a lot, but I've been on a kick about discipleship for the past several months, Coach. And just like the calf, young Christians have to move from milk to solid foods. And this little calf, if he's going to survive and he's going to fulfill his destiny, he's got to get to those solid foods. And I think the last thing that comes, Coach, and this is where the great unknown is. I can't tell you today that Rowdy's going to make it and Rowdy's going to be 18 months old when he goes to the processor or not, Coach. I just don't know that. God does. But what I know is that the reward comes from the effort put forth, that we put forth the effort. It doesn't come from the result. Like you, I did a little coaching, but I coached youth football down in Bartow, there in Central Florida for a couple of years. And the first year we went like 1-13, Coach. And that was a tough season for a young coach and a young team because nobody likes to lose. But what the kids did is they learned skills and they developed. And the next year we turned that around and we went 13-1. And those kinds of things you don't forget. You don't remember. But the rewards didn't come from winning those 13 games, Coach. My rewards came from seeing how these young men developed. They developed into leaders, and they developed skills and strength and the understanding of what teamwork is and selflessness and sacrifice. And those are the same things that we need to teach our young people today, are they not, Coach?
JD, we're going to go a little over tonight.
I'm sorry.
No,
Big mouth, buddy.
no,
Bye-bye.
no. I wanted to, JD. I just mean this with all sincerity. Your stories speak in ways that you are not even aware of. Okay, they speak to me, and I'm reading the chat, and I see the impact that they're having. But before I tell you and I usually in the comment, I didn't do it this week for some reason. I always try to read between the lines and say there's another sermon in there. So I'll top it
Oh,
off
yes,
with
sir.
that. I'll finish off with that. But let me make a
All right.
comment. First of all, that year that you went 1-13, I would venture to say that you would not have gone 13-1 if it would not have been for that. Here's why. If you are going to improve, you're going to have to get a healthy dissatisfaction with the way things are. I chose my words
Yes, sir.
very carefully. A healthy dissatisfaction with the way things are. See, we got to go from knowing you need to change to making changes. And I submit to you that your team went 13-1 would not have done so would they not have been 1-13 the previous year. And that is also a tribute and a compliment to the coaching staff because you pushed them
Oh, I had a lot of
to
good
that.
coaches around me. Yes, sir.
Okay. The other thing is a story I'll tell you about losing. And I have two, but I'll only share one tonight because the other one is a keynote address that I have that no one has yet hired me to give. So I'll keep it a secret, but it's a good one. After a game, as a JV game, I was coaching. I wasn't the head coach, but after the game, we had lost, and I'm picking up the equipment, bagging up the balls, and and this well-intentioned mother could tell by my overall countenance that I was rather, upset, let's just say. So she approached me and with the good intention of consoling me and helping me feel better, and said something to the effect of, Mark, in a way it's good that these boys lose, because the fact of the matter is, in life you're going to have victories and you're going to have defeats, and they need to learn how to lose. I stopped and dropped all those balls with a thud to the ground.
Okay.
And I said, Miss Angie, you're right. I said, but we only have 15 players on our team. They have over 30. I think it would be a much more effective ministry if I allowed 30 people to learn that lesson rather than 15. And furthermore, Angie, you're right. Life does involve winning and it does involve losing. And I hope I never hear any player that I've coached lose and say, I learned how to lose from Coach Prasik.
Amen.
So, I will give you a peek into the great keynote speak that I hope someone hires me to give. The moment that I believe was the rite of passage when I made a transition from being a young man to a grown man, was a game that we lost 52-0. JD, I still hold in the state of Florida the record for unassisted tackles in a single game. I had 18 unassisted tackles. No one gets 18 unassisted tackles. That's how badly the rest of my team was playing. I had to do it. Nobody else was. But that I learned a lesson. You can be at your best when things are at their worst. See, heroes are born of crisis, and so are cowards. I rose up to that, and even though I'm giving away my speech. I ain't going to do that. Okay, and I said I would wind up with this. There's a lesson in your blog this week, and I carefully and patiently let you go through and tell all the lessons you knew. And I'm going to tell you one more.
Okay, sir.
There is a law. I used to watch Mutual of Omaha, and it was sometimes rather gory because animals would be slain, preyed upon by superior animals in the food chain. But those superior animals pick on the weak. And my father explained to me as a very young man that although that is sad, it is good that the weaker are taken, because that way the stronger multiply. Well, as I read, I'm getting chills. As I read your blog today, I thought, by the law, that calf should be dead.
Yep.
It is defective. It deserves death in many ways. JD, we're all defective by the law.
So do we, brother.
We are defective by the law and deserve death. But see, that little calf had a master. Has a master.
Amen.
That doesn't see his defects, but sees his potential. And sees, his, as you say, his destiny, which is ultimately to be a stake, But
yes, sir.
JD, that lesson just jumped out of the page at me because, I'm so defective. I am so unsuited for the task that God has given me.
Coach, we all are.
And so are you.
That's so important to understand.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for sharing the lesson that you took from it. As I've looked at the comments coming in on my blog this week, I'll tell you another lesson I'll just share with the folks, good folks here, that I may discern certain lessons and God may lead me to the words that I write, but I know that I am in His wheelhouse, that I am writing what He wants me to write when I start seeing other people take other lessons from it, because that means God is working through those words. Does that make sense to you, Coach?
It does, JD.
And,
it does.
And that's been a great blessing for me this week, is just to to see how God is working in my little blogosphere, in my little place in the world. Yeah, I'm just happy to be His humble servant.
When you going home, JD?
Headed home Saturday morning, assuming CID doesn't close the airport there in Cedar Rapids, and American Airlines is still flying back to their home in Dallas. If not, then I'm taking the budget rental car and making my way to DFW.
Yeah.
I'll be home Sunday morning instead of Saturday afternoon. But
Yeah.
one way or another, I'm coming home this weekend, darling.
Yeah.
So
there you go. That's what I wanted to hear, because
yes, sir.
there's a way home if you want to make it. You know.
Absolutely.
How many hours to drive would that be if you had to drive?
You know what, Coach? If I had to guess, it'd be between 10 and 12 hours. So I can do that.
JD, that's a walk in the park for me, brother.
As long as Pilot's got coffee, man, I'm good to go.
Yeah. Literally.
Yes, sir.
Well, JD, you've been a blessing to us in your blog.
Coach, I want you to see something and I don't know if you can see it on the bottom of the coffee cup or not, but I do this whenever I'm in the hotel drinking hotel coffee.
Okay. There
Can you
you
read
go.
that?
God loves you. How about that?
Yes, sir. I put that on the bottom of every cup because you just never know when you get a chance to share with someone, right?
Yeah, well, do that before you fill the cup up. Oh, okay.
Yes, sir, actually. All right.
JD, what a power! There's ways to do things. You know, there's just ways to do it. There's ways to share. JD, you've blessed us so much. I'm sorry it's going to be another week before we see you back here, but we'll see you in the chat room.
Looking forward to it, Coach.
The chat's been going.
I think we're going to talk about growing wheat next week.
Growing wheat. Okay, well, you know,
Yes,
wheat has
sir.
a destiny to become a Budweiser. You know?
Oh, my goodness.
Or a loaf of
We're
bread.
going to work, Coach.
We are
Take care, brother.
highly
Thank you,
defective.
everybody.
All right, have a good one.
God bless y'all.
All right, there's your trip around the Cross W with J.D. Wininger. What a blessing he is to be here with us. He's part of the PJNet.TV team. Let me run down this chat room. Y'all bless my heart tonight. This is what I live for. Ben Cooper's here. Kathy Baker's here. Doug Carter. Steve Hazard's now tomorrow night. You better be here. Steve's running the show tomorrow night. He will have my perspective and comments. That's about 10 o'clock Eastern. You will want to see that. And JD's in the chat room. Jen Gentry is here again tonight, and Ken Edwards is here. Melissa Henderson, who was here earlier, right there. She's now in there. Yeah, okay. And Rachel Colby, who blessed my heart today. Thank you, Rachel. Tammy from Georgia is here. She's like our Georgia Peach cheerleader, PJ Net team cheerleader. And Terry Palmer is here, who I had a chance to interact with a little bit today. We're going to see more about that. Folks, it's time to wind it down. I wish we could stay a little longer, but it is time to leave. So I'll leave you with two questions. The first question is, what is the boldest thing you've ever done for Jesus Christ? Question number two, how long ago was that? It is my sincere hope that none of us will ever be satisfied with either answer.